Hey everybody, welcome to the show tonight. I'm Dr. Asatar Bear. Teach this class, live stream class every week to teach you meditation. And each week we try to do a theme. And this week we're going to talk about love as a spiritual path, something that's very much on my mind and heart right now. So, one of the interesting things here, let me say something about my background. I studied meditation within Sufism, and Sufism really emphasizes love and uses love as a metaphor a lot, right? So, it's one of the things that makes this, kind of spiritual approach maybe a little bit unique. And my particular lineage of Sufism comes from Hazrat Inayat Khan, and Hazrat Inayat Khan had a lot of beautiful things to say about love. He wrote some amazing love poetry, and it's all metaphors for union with the divine. And that's, of course, that's a major focus of meditation. Um, so let's talk about that a little bit, and I want to just read to you a little bit some of some of these teachings from Hazrat Inayat Khan. Here's a picture of Hazrat Inayat Khan here. This is from his complete sayings, which has a lot of this poetry in it. Um, so one of the things he really emphasizes is that love is our nature and that it comes from within. So he has this saying here that says, "True happiness is in the love stream that springs from one's soul, and the one who will allow this stream to flow continually in all conditions of life, in all situations, however difficult, will have a happiness that truly belongs to them." So beautiful, right? This is saying love is within us, right? It's our nature. Um, and, we often think of it as, external, or it's about another person, right? Um, it's our nature, right? It is reflected in our relationships with others. So very interesting, right? And then, so he goes on, another saying says, "The fountain stream of love rises in the love for an individual, but spreads and falls in universal love." So, okay, now we're talking, right? There's the individual, there's the personal, and that's a lot of what we know. That's a lot of what we focus on, right? And then there's the universal, right? Because love is a universal emotion. You feel it in others. You can feel it in something that somebody writes, right? Um, you can it comes through even in words, in a story, right? I mean, it's because that feeling sparks the feeling within us, right? um, so that's, it's a universal emotion, even though it's expressed differently and felt differently and all this, right? um, uh, all right, so another one I want to read to you guys here. um, Love that depends on being answered by the beloved is lame. It does not stand on its own feet. Love that tries to possess the beloved is without arms. It can never hold. Love that does not regard the pleasure and displeasure of the beloved is blind. Love that is exacting and self-assertive is dead. So, all right, well, that's something, right? So we're talking here about broadening one's own experience, going beyond that self regard, right? That sort of narcissism that we have. We need that in some ways to develop ourselves, to develop our ego. But once it's developed, well, it's not just all about us, right? It's about others, right? It's about what are we here to do. You know, we have to both receive from life, and we also have to give, right? Um, so, and love is a metaphor for that, right? Love is an experience of that. And so it has a lot to teach us about life, and about the spiritual path, right? So now, what do we mean by even the spiritual path? What is that, right? Um, so this is the path of development toward the experience of unity and toward the realization of that unity, right? So meditation, big focus of it, right, is about unifying the self. Okay. So, where do we begin with that? Well, we begin with noticing that, our what we pay attention to, where our mind is at, right? Where are we, what are we focused on, is often something very different from what we're doing, right? So, the first step in meditation is to concentrate, to focus. Now, love, falling in love with somebody does this very efficiently, right? Very naturally, like when you fall for somebody, you think about them all the time, right? And it's effortless, like you don't have to be like, oh, dad, I gotta keep that person in mind, right? No, your mind just naturally goes there, right? Um, so this is a lesson for us, right? Like if you want to learn concentration, learn focus, which is, by the way, a great skill to have, a fundamental skill to have. Everyone should have that skill, right? The ability to focus the mind. Well, little hint, pick something to practice on that you care about, right? That you love, is an activity or maybe it's another person, right? So that's, something that love has to teach us just right out of the gate, right? Naturally, you focus on that which you care about. Okay. So, we have the idea that, oh, concentration has got to be hard. If it's not hard, it's not worth anything, right? um, like because we say this in our culture all the time about all sorts of things, right? Like if you're having fun, you're not learning, this kind of thing, right? um, but it's nonsense, right? So choose something to focus on that you love. If you're in love with somebody, you're going to find that very natural to do, right? You are naturally going to study that person, right? You're going to care about what they say and what they do, and you want to know them, right? um, that is all concentration, right? That's the basic building block of meditation and of all spiritual development, right? Because again, we're trying to unify the self, right? Bring the self into a wholeness, okay? So body, mind, emotion, spirit, all of it, right? Um, so now let's go on, right? Because Hazrat Nat Khan has more to say about love, right? He says, the one whose love has always been reciprocated does not know the real feeling of love. Wow, right? So okay, now it's starting to get a little bit real, right? Like, um, you know, love is one of these things we can talk about and say some beautiful flowery stuff about, but what we know that love makes you vulnerable and it goes hand in hand with pain, right? Um, and this is why we both fear it and long for it, right? Um, it is exciting, it's intoxicating, it's pleasurable at times, right? It brings you joy, um, but it also brings you the potential for pain on a whole different level. And here, Hazrat Nat Khan, I think, is hinting at, well, there's something to that, right? Maybe you haven't ever been in love really if you haven't ever experienced some of that pain, right? Because they go together, right? Um, and so then he has some more to say about this, which kind of deepens the point, right? Is love pleasure? Is love merriment? No. Love is longing constantly. Love is persevering unweariedly. Love is hoping patiently. Love is willing surrender. Love is regarding constantly the pleasure and displeasure of the beloved, for love is resignation to the will of the possessor of one's heart. It is love that teaches one, thou, not I. Mm, pleasure, merriment. Ooh, that sounds good, right? No, longing constantly, persevering unweariedly. Okay, wow. That longing, right? That longing that comes out as, that desire. What does that have to teach us about, the spiritual path or the path to wholeness? Well, desire and longing is what moves us forward, right? Um, we have desire for a reason, right? Um, because we are drawn to develop. We have this kind of fundamental drive, right? Um, and And it, it connects to purpose, right? Because, you know, we could say, well, is the purpose of life to be happy? Is the purpose of life bliss? I wish I could say yes to that, right? It would be nice. But it does not seem to me to be the case, right? Because, you know, whenever you have a moment of that, right, life changes, right? I mean, life is continuous change, right? And life moves you forward. So, from my experience, right, life is about development, right? Life is about change. Life is about progress, and desire is the spur, right? That longing is what causes us to unfold our potential, right? We have that longing within us, um, and we can feel it really keenly when it comes to love, right? Love is longing. um, and what is that, right? Like, we should not expect for that to be fulfilled, right? Because progress never ends, right? Unfoldment never ends. um, and there isn't a point where we stop and say, okay, I'm done now, right? I've become everything I can be, right? No, that no matter how much we've achieved, within or externally, right? There's always more, right? Our hearts never stop longing. So there's a lesson in that, right? So, we can focus, but there's something that's moving us forward, right? Um, all right. So I want to say, I've got another one here that I want to read to you guys there. Um, uh, so this is a little bit longer poem, all right? Riding on the horse of hope, holding in my hand the rein of courage, clad in the armor of patience, and the helmet of endurance on my head, I started on my journey to the land of love. A lance of stern faith in my hand, and the sword of firm conviction buckled on. With a knapsack of sincerity and the shield of earnestness, I advanced on the path of love. I went through the thick forests of perpetual desire. I crossed the running rivers of longing. I passed through the deserts of silent suffering. I climbed the steep hills of continual strife. Feeling ever some presence in the air, I asked, "Are you there, my love?" And a voice came to my ears saying, "No, still further am I." So again, that theme of longing, of making progress, of moving forward, right? Um, so, very much, very strong elements of Hazrat Khan's teachings, of Sufi teachings in general, right? What do we learn? How do we unfold in this process of loving, right? And all of the attributes that's developed, right? The things that he mentions: hope, courage, patience, endurance, faith, conviction, sincerity, right? Now think of how we often behave, when we say we're seeking love or whatever, right? But do we do this, right? Do we make ourselves vulnerable? Are we even sincere, right? Do we lay our cards on the table? A lot of times we don't, right? Because we're afraid, we might not be met there, right? And that is a very real risk, right? So courage, right? You might not be met, right? But again, it's if you don't play the game, you can't win or lose, right? I mean, so that we long to play this game, right? Because love, right? Love is incredibly compelling, right? Now we have a very romantic kind of culture, right? So our culture celebrates this and whatever, but doesn't necessarily get into the real stuff, right? I mean, like, we have a kind of happily ever after vision, right? You meet your soulmate or whatever, and live happily ever after. Um, that's not really what Hazrat Khan is talking about here, right? There's no happily ever after. There's endless longing, but there's also progress and the happiness that comes from that love stream flowing within you, right? Um, so it's not it isn't about you're getting somewhere and then you're going to stay there stagnant, right? No, it's about a flow of continuous progress and change. So, wow, right? Now, love and pain go hand in hand, okay? That is, another one of Hazrat Nikon's teachings, and something that we know, right? If you ever have been in love, right, you're going to experience pain. Um, so here's a little poem he has about that. The pain of love is the dynamite that breaks up the heart, even if it be as hard as a rock. So yeah, right. It breaks you open, right? You experience that pain of love, that heartbreak. Right? Yeah, you know that something's happened there, right? Um, and we sometimes we want to avoid that pain, right? We don't. Oh, I don't want to. There's already enough pain in life, right? I don't need more. Right. We don't go seeking for it, but I think it's good to have an attitude of like, well, it's all part of it, right? Um, life gives us gifts, and they're not always the gifts we would hope for, and whatever. We hope that they're always nice, right? We hope they're always positive, but that's not really how it works, right? I mean, because a lot of times pain is the thing that makes us grow like nothing else, right? And or at least that's been my experience. So, and Hazrat Icon echoes this. He says, "Pain, my lifelong comrade, if all went and left me, you would still be there." A wonderful attitude to have toward pain, right? And say, "Oh, I'm in pain. Oh, my friend, nice to see you again." Right? Yeah. Always with me. Um, all right. So, if we want to try to bring some of these themes into meditation and try to, develop an experience of this or a practice of this, right? To get into the energy and the vibe of these teachings. Let's try that out. All right. So we're this is heart rhythm meditation, right? This is a method of meditation that comes out of Sufism, um, and we're going to start by just having a nice upright posture. So arrange yourself so that your back can be straight. You're feeling your weight in your sits bones. Your center line of your body is lined up. A lot of times we're leaning too far forward. It puts stress on the neck and on the back and whatever. So you just allow yourself to kind of come into balance. For me, it often means sitting back a little bit. Now, I don't have anything touching my back. Okay. I'm sitting in a chair, but the back of the chair, I have a little cushion and it's supporting just like kind of the top of my butt. Right. So, and nothing touching my back, that allows my back to be very energized. Okay. Now, sitting is like anything, it's a skill. So, you can develop it over time. But what you want is something where you feel like you're upright, but you want to be as relaxed as possible within that. Okay. So let's try and work on that. Sit in an upright but relaxed manner. And then tune into your breath. Pay attention to your inhalation and your exhalation. And as you inhale, allow your belly to expand and contract. And you can even take your hand and just place it on your belly so that you feel your belly rising and falling. This will just remind you to breathe abdominally or diaphragmatically. All right. So breathing in, belly expands. Breathing out, your belly contracts. Now, as you tune into your breathing, you may notice that your breathing naturally slows down. And that's good, all right? So we want to make the breath deep, meaning in your belly, and slow. And we make it slow by extending it. So when you think you're done breathing, breathe out some more. Squeeze your abdominal muscles so that you're breathing more than you normally do. And then control that as you breathe in. So your breath is now, you've done several interventions on your breath. You're paying attention to your breath and you're breathing slowly and deeply. Now, this causes a whole set of physiological changes. And it might take some time for this to happen, but this is what we want here is the triggering of the parasympathetic nervous system. That is the relax and chill part of your nervous system, as opposed to the fight or flight part, right? Now, we also want to make the breath rhythmic and heart centered. Okay, so a good way to do this is to place your hand on your heart and to feel your heartbeats. Okay, so often it's enough to have your hand here, help you feel your heartbeat. Some people can feel it quite easily, others, it's a little more challenging. You can take your fingertip and just press lightly against your sternum. That's a way that often helps to feel that. You might then feel it in your fingertip. So if you need that, that's fine. If none of those tricks work, just imagine your heartbeat is, okay? You're probably not far off, right? Because the heartbeat is, this very powerful signal in our body. Even if you aren't aware of feeling it, you're probably on some level, right? It's probably hitting you on an unconscious level. So if you just imagine it, you're probably pretty close. Okay. So what I'm saying is, don't feel bad if you can't feel it. That's okay, right? What we want is the breath to be rhythmic around a heartbeat, okay, or your count, right? Whichever way you're going here, okay. So breathe in the same number of beats as you breathe out, okay. So, for example, 8 beats in, 8 beats out. Now, that's a much slower breath than what you normally do. Okay, so 8 beats in, 8 beats out is a breath cycle of 16 beats. If your heart is, 60 or 70 beats per minute, so a breath cycle of 16 means you're taking maybe 4 breaths a minute, right? Um, Normally we take like 20. So, normally the breath is a lot faster. So you're slowing your breath down substantially here, right? You're taking far fewer breaths per minute than you normally do. And again, this triggers your parasympathetic nervous system, helps you relax, helps you shed that fight or flight, that stress response, right? So sit with this and just focus on feeling your breath and feeling your heartbeat and creating that rhythm. This is a challenge for your mind as well. This is something you need to focus on because you're changing your breath. You're focusing on your breath in a different way, focusing on your heartbeat. Feel your breath nourishing your body, nourishing your physical heart. Try to just cultivate a feeling of gratitude for your body, for your heart, for your breath. Now, we want to really make the breath powerful as well. And we can do that by squeezing our abdominal muscles on the exhalation, breathing out more so that we can then breathe in more. And now we want to not only fill up the belly, but allow the breath to expand up into your chest and your rib cage. So first fill up your belly, then fill up your chest with breath and really feel that expansion. Really stretch yourself. Breathe bigger, breathe more, right? And you'll notice there's more control that's needed here. Control on the exhalation, control on the inhalation, okay? Because you want to make the stream of breath even and smooth, okay? Don't let the breath, don't force it all out, and then let it all rush in and then you're struggling to get to the end, right? That's uneven. You want to control it, okay? So it has a nice even stream, okay? Like a river, right? Rivers don't stop and start, right? They flow, right? So that's what we want for the breath, right? Smooth, powerful breath creates a rhythm, and that rhythm energizes you and allows you to experience that energy of your heart and of the infinite. Now, we also want to tune into the emotional and energetic meaning of the heart, that aspect of it, right? The heart is a physical organ, but when we're meditating, we want to cultivate our emotional side. We want to cultivate love. We want to experience that universal love. It is our true nature, it is endless. As Radhanath Khan says, we're never going to be satisfied loving another person because, as wonderful as that is, right, it's still limited. Our hearts want and long to feel the love that is timeless, eternal, infinite, unlimited, because that's our nature. That's what's real. But remember, the love that you feel for a person, that's the portal that takes you there, right? So, you know, as you're breathing now, think of someone that you love. Just consider them. And as you breathe out, feel that the energy of your heart goes to that person, like you're giving them your heart energy. Of course, this is what happens so naturally when you love someone. You want to give to them, you want to support them, you want to care for them, you want to give them pleasure, you want to give them whatever you can. So tune into that on the exhalation. Give to your beloved. And on the inhalation, receive love. Just take it in. So often the case that we erect all sorts of barriers. We say, oh, I don't want that, or I'm afraid, or if I take that from you, what if it's not there someday? And all of this, right? These are building walls that don't allow the stream to flow. But we're working here with energy, right? We're working here with love on an energetic level. So, what if you just let down those walls? What if you just open your heart and let that energy flow in? I realize that asking you to think about someone that you love might also bring a bunch of other stuff with it. You might feel pain, resentment, disappointment, the ways in which the other person has hurt you. I mean, that's all there, right? And that's okay, right? Because love gives us so many things. It's not all just the what we would call good, right? But let me just use this metaphor, right? Even if there's some debris in a river, we still call it a river, right? I mean that the things I'm talking about, right? The hurts and resentments and criticisms and the ways that we get hurt and all this stuff, right? Um, well, that's like debris in the river. And okay, that happens, right? There's often stuff floating in the river, maybe it's not totally clean, okay, right? But it's still a river, right? It's still love, So try to feel underneath all of that, right? Even with that, right? Nobody's perfect. We're not perfect either, right? Like what we give isn't entirely pure either, right? So, all right, that's part of it. We're human. Let's try to focus on the love part, right? Not the debris part, you know. Giving and receiving. You're really working on developing the breath here. So if you lose track of it and your breath kind of returns to your normal pattern, just return to it. Just return your focus to your breath. Follow the steps that I said, right? Make your breath deep, slow, rhythmic, heart centered, and work on making it fuller and bigger so that you're using much more of your lung capacity than you're used to. Really energizing your heart here. If the pain of love comes in here, that's okay, right? That's part of this. Pain makes your heart alive. It's better to feel it than to suppress it. And it's much better to feel it when you're in this state of meditation where you have this powerful breath, this powerful rhythmic breath that helps you keep you anchored and keep that stream flowing. Just like a stream of water, right? Water purifies itself by running. It's when it stagnates that it becomes foul and unpleasant. Right? So your heart purifies itself by that love stream flowing. And is it all going to be pleasure and merriment? Oh, no, right? There's going to be some pain that's going to flow through you too. That's okay. Right? Embrace it all. All right. So then we'll end our meditation there. And I have a couple more things to say about the topic here. So I can go back to that for a little while. Um, Now, of course, if you're doing well with your meditation, please feel free to continue and just tune out what I'm saying, or maybe listen to it while you're breathing. Either way, right? So there's there's something here. I've been thinking about this book that I've been reading, Esther Perel, the Mating in Captivity book, She talks about these two fundamental kind of desires that we have, right? One is the desire for excitement, novelty, to explore, right? To discover new things, right? Um, and the other is the desire for safety. To feel safe, to feel held, right? Um, and so we're often looking for different aspects of this, like when we're looking for love or experiencing love, right? And of course we change and shift. What do we need? Sometimes we need more of that sense of safety. Sometimes we need that more of that feeling of novelty, right? That exploration. But meeting somebody new, having a new relationship, right, gives you that, right? That, wow, there's this person to explore and discover. Amazing, right? Um, and it also gives you that there's a certain vulnerability in that, right? Because, like, well, what if the person goes away? What if that is withdrawn? Or what if you reach out? What if you open yourself and you're not met? You know, what if you're rejected? Um, so, I mean, and this is very common, right? I mean, like, are two people going to be exactly meeting one another at the same time and place? And maybe not, right? A lot of times not, you know? And so this is inevitably going to cause pain, right? Because what does one do, right? One does what do when one isn't met? You're going to feel pain from that, right? Um, what if somebody wants something different than what you have to offer, right? Um, hmm, you know, what do you do there, right? And so, well, patience, even this phrase that Husband and Icon uses, silent suffering, right? Wow, okay. We're like, oh, I thought love was going to be about eating whipped cream and cherry on top and stuff like this, right? Some of that is there, right? Thank goodness, right? So there is some pleasure, there is some merriment, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't put up with the pain and suffering of it too, right? Um, but it's going to bring us all those things, right? That is inevitable. Um, so what we're again, we don't want to think of it as like, okay, this is all going to be pleasure, right? We want to think of it as this is all development, right? So, the phrase that I think of that's helped me, right, deal with some of this stuff about, you know, because everyone's teachings, right? I'm no different, right? Everyone's teachings often, you're teaching yourself. So the thing that I kind of return to, right, is God giveth and God taketh away, right? So, life gives us gifts. And we, in our sort of narrow mindedness, right, we think, hey, that's not the gift I asked for. That's not, I wanted the pleasure and merriment. That's what I wanted, right? What is this? What is this? What is this longing and having to be patient and having to wait? Oh my God, right? Not the thing I wanted. Um, it's often the gifts that we don't think we want that have the most value, though, right? Um, the one that is difficult for us to take in, right? That's still a gift. So we can practice this, right, by making our breath rhythmic, making our heart strong, right, by embracing everything that is within our hearts, right? That is the kind of attitude we want to approach meditation with, right? We're not meditating, or at least let me encourage you, right? Don't meditate with the thought, I'm going to get blissed out right now, right? Um, Maybe that'll happen. I hope it does, right? But you might also experience a lot of pain, right? Now, this has a lot of benefit though, because it's better to let that stream flow. It's better, at least in my experience, right? I'll speak for myself. It's been better for me, to experience a bunch of pain during meditation, right? Rather than having it come up at some other time, right? Meditation is when I'm the most equipped to deal with it, right? Like I'm in a controlled kind of environment, right? I'm taking a quiet moment. I'm breathing deeply. I'm engaging my inner resources, right? This is the perfect time for me to experience the pain of something that's unresolved, right? Um, Great time for that, right? So I don't want to put limitations on my experience, right? I don't want to say, oh yeah, and I only want this and not that, right? Um, there's a wisdom in the experience itself, right? So whatever it is, take it in, try to be grateful for it. Now, that is one of those things that is simple to say, right? It's very easy for me to say that. Very hard to do though, like simple doesn't mean easy, um, because, we have expectations, right? We have desires, we have that longing, right? We long to experience, the pleasure and intoxication of love and not the, pain and the things that require patience and all of that, right? That's very difficult. Um, but still, we want to appreciate, right? That is often what really causes us to grow. Okay. So, all right, back to the theme of like this intoxicating journey of discovery, right? Where you're, meeting somebody new, experiencing that, right? Um, and then what about this part of, well, the being held, being safe, being secure, right? Um, and that's a very powerful motivator too, right? Feeling like you have somebody who cares for you and protects you, right? Holds you, right? Is there for you no matter what. Wow, what a feeling that is, right? um, and this is often like something that develops right after you know somebody for longer, right? Now, how do you get there, right? Well, there's going to be a period of testing, right? I mean, that's inevitable, right? So, when it's like you have this intoxicating experience, right, of falling for somebody, but they want to know, hey, are you really going to be there, right? I mean, are you just here when it's fun? What if we fight? What's going to happen then, right? Oh, that's important, important moment of discovery there, right? Now, so okay, this is a very natural process, right? Like if you've never been with somebody long enough to have a fight with them, I mean, come on, right? Yeah, then you haven't really gotten very far in love, right? So, all right, what does this tell us, right? What does this tell us about the spiritual path? Well, whenever you take a step in anything, right? So whether it's in love or whether you're accomplishing something or it's in meditation, spirituality, there's always going to be testing, right? There's always going to be an obstacle or lots of obstacles, right? I don't want to limit it to just one, right? Obstacles will come up, right? That tests your conviction, that tests your, belief, right? Is this going to work, right? Can I actually do this? Am I doing this right? Whatever it is, right? So whether it's with meditation or whatever, right? The question is, are you going to overcome those obstacles? And if the obstacles never came up, you'd never know the answer to that, right? And that's important, right? Because you learn about yourself by overcoming these obstacles, right? Or maybe you choose not to, right? Maybe you choose to go in a different direction. That's fine too, right? But either way, you've learned something there, right? I'm not saying we're bound to like overcome every obstacle. No, we can choose our path, right? We can say, you know what, I'm not gonna tackle that one, right? Perfectly fine, you know. Um, but if you're set on it, right? If you're like, okay, boom, let's go, right? Well, then you've got to overcome that obstacle, right? That takes faith, right? That takes conviction. That takes patience. That takes being in that state of longing and just holding that, right? Being in that. We want instant fulfillment. We want like, oh, I have a desire. Boom, let me get it right now, right? I'd love to get it. So this is not how life is, though, right? Because life's limited. Um, it takes time to achieve our desires, and we have lots of them, right? So we're going to have to choose among our desires, right? No one gets every single thing that they want, right? Um, so again, working with the breath, making your breath deep, rhythmic, slow, heart-centered, full, all these things that I'm that I'm saying, this is all part of heart rhythm meditation. This has tremendous value. Okay. You make your breath slow, deep, rhythmic. You are teaching yourself patience right there. You're teaching yourself faith with every breath, right? How? Because you're breathing all the way out, right? What is that? That is a moment where you empty yourself of breath. Emptying yourself of breath. Breath is life, okay? So if you breathe all the way out, you're approaching death, right? You're giving everything, right? Close to it. Now, the reward that you get for that is you get to breathe in much more. You get to receive much more, right? We give energy out, we receive energy back, right? The more we do that, right? The more we allow this to flow, right? The more we let down our walls and boundaries and all this stuff, right? Our self imposed limitations, the more powerful we become, right? The bigger we become, the more that love stream flows and becomes incredibly powerful. Right? You feel it within you and you see that in the life around you. Okay. So let's work on this. Right? Hopefully now that I've got you hyped up, right? Let's do another meditation and see if we can really work on extending this. Okay. So again, you get your good upright posture together. Tune into the center line of your body. Bring yourself into alignment. Tune into your breath. I'm having to adjust my cushion a little bit. All right. And make your breath deep, slow, rhythmic, heart-centered, and full. Now, this is asking a lot of you. I understand that. So do whatever parts of it you can do. 8 beats in, 8 beats out. Make your heartbeat and your breath rhythmic. Engage your abdominal muscles as you breathe out, so you breathe out more. Control your breath as you breathe in so that the flow remains even, smooth. Let your breath flow like a mighty river. Feel your heart giving as you breathe out, expanding your heart's energy, giving your love. And let your heart take in love. Let your heart receive love as you breathe in. This is what life is, giving and receiving. Now you might just sit with this and feel within yourself. Are there some walls that you've put up around this? I mean, spoiler, the answer is yes, there absolutely are, right? That's being human. But just notice what they are, right? Or try to feel them. You know, it might manifest as a thought, or maybe it's a sensation, or right, everything that you're experiencing in meditation has some meaning. So just open your awareness to that and just try to receive the message. Which feels more limited to you? Inhalation or exhalation? When you think of this giving and receiving love, Is there a part of the breath that you struggle with more? That has a meaning, right? So just notice this and just gently allow that river to flow over those obstacles, right? Over those walls. We're just working energetically here, right? Might ask, do those barriers serve you? Breathe in, receive love. Breathe out, give love. Now tune into that love is universal, that love is endless, love is infinite, love is the divine. The whole universe is here. Tune into that universal experience, that universal dimension of the breath. So that as you breathe in, you're not receiving love just from that one person. You are receiving through that person all the love that ever was or ever will be. That's a lot of love. And it's all for you. It is you. And as you breathe out, feel that the love that you are giving isn't just from you. It's the entire universe. All the love that ever was or ever will be is coming through you. You're like a portal to infinity. Wow. Love can't be exhausted, can't be used up. It's infinite. See if you can allow yourself to identify with that infinite love, that unbounded love, that perfect eternal love. Allow that to fill up your experience so that you identify with that. That's you. Right, and then bring it back down to the personal level here. Place your hands on your heart. I hope you've gotten a little taste of that infinite and eternal, that perfect and unbounded experience of the infinite. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and end your meditation. You know, the reason that I do this class live with all of the potential for error and whatever that goes along with live stuff is because there's something special about like sharing the experience together, you know? So, you know, I'm feeling that, right? We're doing this together, even though we're, you know, in our different locations and whatever. And, you know, that holds for those of you who are watching the recording too, of course, but you know, there's, I always encourage people to catch it live if you can, right? Because there's just something special about, you know, doing this at the same time, right? That's you get kind of carried along with it, right? I mean, I feel it, you know. Um, so I've gone through a lot of steps here, and you know that's maybe you got some of that, maybe you didn't. If you want to support this show, I have a Patreon page. The link's in the description. I go through all this stuff very carefully and systematically, like in this course that I give to all my patrons. So if you're interested in that, you know, click the link, check it out. But of course, we're here every week. You know, we're love to have you guys. And you know, if you have questions or comments about anything, um, just just let me know. I see I do have some. I do have some here. Uh, oh, just looks like it's people saying hi. Nice to see you guys. And looks like we're just about out of time for this evening. So we'll be here next week. And thank you all for joining me today, meditating with me. Namaste. Take care, everybody.